And you're listening to the Pulse on Capital 100.4 FM with Normanize, Just Fresh and Olenta. And now we get into Hustle Hard with George Billionaire. Holla holla. Hi George.
Holla holla. It's your boy George Billionaire, and it's great to be here on this amazing station. And I'm very happy this last weekend because we just came from Independence. And maybe a lot of people don't actually understand what Independence Nomborevechi. But I love the song that Bob Marley, I hope this is a request to you ladies soon after 1 o'clock. Mm-hmm. If you can play the song Bob Marley sang for us on Independence, talking about, we need to, there are two songs. There's the Zimbabwe song he did, where, he's speaking about every man has a right to define his own destiny. And as Zimbabwe, we chose many years ago to define our own history by fighting. So many people lost their lives so that today we can have all these liberties. And if you look back in history, we were not allowed to walk in First Street. We were not allowed to own a business. Mm-hmm. We were not allowed to hang around in certain suburbs. By 6 o'clock, we had to be at a certain place. The people of black color had to stay in certain locations. There were so many restrictions, but now, as a fully liberated country, we are now free to have our own radio stations, own TV stations, to stay wherever we want to stay. And that is what is called liberation. So, happy independence to Zimbabwe, and we truly thank those who sacrificed their lives for now the freedom that we are having today. On Hustle Hard, we always talk about do what is hard now, so that our lives will be easier. And those dedicated liberation war heroes did what was hard. They lost a lot of their childhood memories. They could have gone to school, they could have got an education, but they chose what was hard for what we now today are living an easier life. To be able to, I can only imagine, can you imagine not being allowed to go in town, shopping, doing what you want? It was true oppression of the black community, but now we are liberalized. So, we really need to understand that as Zimbabweans, that now we are empowered to do what we want. We can run our own businesses. We can be employed and do all these amazing things. So, I just want to wish all Zimbabweans a happy independence, especially with the knowledge of knowing that there are people who did so much for us to be where we are. And now we need to continue the legacy of now becoming the best versions that we are supposed to be by now empowering ourselves. Bob Marley's song, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. And that mental slavery is what we as people were told we cannot do. Mm-hmm. We were oppressed mentally. We were told we can't do this. But now, as we are liberalized, we now need to live the best lives. But also remember, there are people who did certain things for us to be where we are. Therefore, we can't make excuses on why we are not making it, because there are people who chose the harder life. Some lost their lives to fight for us so that we can be free. So it's important that we really appreciate this. When other countries celebrate independence, it's truly with the knowledge of what the liberation war heroes did for that country. And we should never forget where we came from, so that we know exactly where we are going.
All right. So today on Hustle Hard, we are talking about money. Obviously, we talk about money. But people that listen in are also, of course, young people who are in relationships and with family and all of that. So conversation yedu iri pakuti nyaya mari inotaurika sei. Because when we come to relationships, especially relationships with young people, unoitanga sei conversation iyo yemari kuti kana kazorora anenge achitenga chikafu mumba ndiani, or how much are you making kubasa kwako? Is this something that you can disclose? If yes, how do we go about it?
Well, so money is a very important topic that people need to be able to address, but failure to address the management of money is going to cause people to constantly be in lack of money. Now, there are various categories of people who earn various amounts of money. Kuna anotambira 100, 2, 3, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000. And I love this quote, failing to plan is planning to fail. And we have all heard this before. And this is why most people who are listening, you get your salary today. A week later, you won't understand what iwe mari yangu yakaenda nikupi, because you did not have a basic plan to do with your money. So takazotaura kumarriage zvato a further stage. It begins with you as an individual. How do you manage your money? And there is a huge stigma on people not wanting to address money because they think it's too little. But if you put a little on a little, soon it will become much. If you fail to manage a little bit, you will never be able to manage much. Saka nyaya yemari vanhu vanoda literacy yekuziva kuti kana uchitambira a certain amount of money, make sure you also live within your means. Don't try and do unnecessary things to please people. And shondo risati ratopera, you are back to asking people for money. And that is the reason why people don't make it. Saka chakakosha is we must be financially literate. We must. Because if you know you earn a certain amount of money, live within those means. Make sure there's a budget for this is my transport money, this is electricity, this is rent. Basic, put it in categories. If it means be as petty as putting it in envelopes, you do that to manage the little. Because if you fail to manage little amounts of money, there's nowhere as an individual you go. Because even big corporate organizations, even governments have planned for money. So if you, at the lowest level that you are, cannot manage money, I can guarantee you we're not ever going to ever achieve much in our lives. So money must be a topic that should be discussed, but avoiding talking about it will always leave us in serious poverty and not knowing what we're going to do tomorrow.
Let's put it this way. I'm a breadwinner, right? I literally take care of the whole family. Do I tell them how much I make? Because let's say for some reason, maybe I work for Pro A, and Boswanga no driver knows motor, and my family knows I'm close to my boss. The assumption is I probably get like $3,000. So the duties and they keep piling up. Is it okay for me to then say I don't want $300 gonna $150 or something, just to lessen the burden? Or maybe don't want to sure, but I also have to take care of my needs.
Yeah, so I think I'll take a very good example of my father. My father used to work for the city of Harare, and he used to take us to these very great expensive schools. And all four of us, we didn't understand how we would do it with his salary. But what my father deliberately did, he made sure that he would balance all of us by when he gets paid, he would make sure he comes and gives us, a little bit according to what he got to take care of some of our basic needs. Because remember, if you have kids, you can't be a father and not be able to buy your children basic things like ice cream or whatever. So it's not about telling your family how much you earn, but most importantly, it's about living within your means. Now, for my father, he used to, pilot, basically used to carry people and, to subsidize his income to pay for certain things. And when you make your life very easily transparent to your family about this is what we can do, this is what we cannot do, your family will understand, because it's a conversation that you have. Now, there are some families who, if the wife next door got a brand new car, the madam of the household is now saying, can you see what John did for his wife? It's now unnecessary pressure. And then what does that cause? And this is what we have in this modern day and age. People are living out of their means because on social media there's pressure. Wakangomoka pa Facebook, Instagram. This woman got a new car. This one, they went on holiday. And then you can't have that real conversation with your family, Kuti. With us, within our means, we're going to do that in due time. But we're not going to go there. And sometimes I say this a lot because growing up, we would go to the rural areas, but those were amazing memories because our family was one. But when we put money above all else, you can lose the happiness of the family. So I think it's important to have conversations as a family, know where we are. It's not about declaring to your children, Baba earns X amount, but it's about the small things that you enjoy together as a family. There are some families vanoto ita Christmas inotonakidza kupfuura vanhu vari kuenda kuholiday because they are having their basic good memories with a small budget. So kwandiri it's about.
But like parents don't necessarily understand, right? Their parents ukuthi, like you said, back in the day they used to do a lot for us. For Christmas, nekamari kako vari kutenga hembe dzeChristmas, vari kutengesa kuchikoro, vari kutenga uniform and all of that. Now they are older. They kind of feel like we also have superpowers, My mother would say, tomorrow she wants something different. Tomorrow she wants something different because according to her, I have money. Imagine having a daughter like Precious. Every day looking at her, looking all fly every day.
Yeah.
But she looks like she has money.
Yeah.
So those conversations, how do you make your parents understand? Mari ndoshanda. Because sometimes, especially in our industry, sometimes you can work. My pets. Oh, Jesus. My pets and Mozonzi, I'll see you on Monday. Upwards of 3 a.m. And Shanda. See you on Monday. Monday and the Monday. You can't then tell about baby. But we expect something. And if you can ask you, iskirire kuda kuza tiri kuzoti wakashanda saka chiwane something, right? And when you say no,
when you say you don't have,
you don't have, it can't make sense.
I would love to say that I don't think the parents that groomed us up are very demanding. I don't think they are. I think the parents that we have are very understanding parents, and they don't actually want much from you. They just want some form of acknowledgement. I go and see my father every Monday after the show. And my father, it's not that he dictates that I want a certain amount, but it's just about honoring your father and mother for what they did for you, because you can never repay your parents in monetary value from the time you were born until now. So they never say, no, you must buy me this latest phone, this type of car. It's not. But all parents want, and I tell you, especially the generation parents you're talking about, they want simple acknowledgement. They want airtime. They want, hey, I'm bringing you this. They want little bit. They are a little plastic bag of groceries. It's not much. So I don't know which parents you're talking about, which are super dictatorial.
I think what Noma is saying.
Yes.
No.
The people that we usually meet, you're talking about a parent who's probably self-sufficient in terms of having a family. You don't go to a project yet. Do you understand? We have breadwinners, like Noma is saying. That person, that child is the bread. She's going to make sure your parents have dressed, they're well fed, they have shelter, they have food, they have good medical.
Olenta, I think maybe it then goes to the lifestyle you're portraying to your parents you're living. And I think this is the challenge, because we are now living a lifestyle as though we have arrived. And your parents see this, that, and the other.
Billionaire. I think you speak from a place of privilege. You were born George Billionaire. You were born in a family that's very fully functional. There are a lot of weird things that happen.
He's trying to say is, how do you sit down and have the conversation? Like what Noma is saying. The disadvantage with our job, even with friends, they think you have it all together because of the way you look. You create
appearance versus reality.
Yeah, appearance versus reality. Those niggas cheating. Because I don't have money in my pocket. I think what Noma is trying to say is, how do you have that conversation with family? Kuti, I actually don't have money. I just look like I have money, but I don't.
But I don't.
Like, how do you set the boundary? Because I like what you're saying. I don't think there's any child I don't think it is on one side.
Also, their parents who are very demanding.
Do you know, I think I'll be very real with you, and I think the lack of consistency, especially for us as kids, going back to give our parents when we get paid. Kudara Rainzi, your first salary, you'd give to your parents. I don't want to ask how many of you have ever done that, really. But Kudara, it was a way of honoring your parents.
Yeah.
So when you see a parent now going out of their way to ask you where they know you're not earning much, I think, Ipabo, it's because of your lack of consistency. Because I can guarantee you, if your father calls you and asks you for airtime, for example, it means there's So, like I said before, I don't think, and if they are, it's great they are listening. They should also understand that our daughter earns X amount and she's trying by all means. But there are some who don't see their parents because of I don't know what, because they have emotional hurts and etc. And they feel, no, 6 months I've never honored my father and etc. But it doesn't matter where your father is. In this modern day and age, it may be $10, it may be 20. It's just a sign of acknowledgement. And you know what the Bible says? Though one commandment. For parents, I wish people would understand. You find people go and give in churches. Your pastor every weekend. You can honor him left, right, center. Kune fundraising, ye butsu, ye suit, ye motor, ye church tent, ye everything. But we forget the most important thing, which is our parents. And it's not honoring according to amount. It's honoring according to what you have. And if you do that, shokorangwari is not, it will be well with you. Aumbo fe wakashaya because uneropa fadzo ye your mother and father. But it's a pity with our generation. Like I said, Kuma church, you are the first one to run to the altar when Papa or prophetess or whoever says. But when it comes to your father and mother, you rarely go and see them. You rarely even kneel down. Some parents will be shocked with the generation in Indogara. It's not kuti, it's what I grew up seeing. Because I saw my father doing that to his father. And maybe that's what led to his success. He would never leave his father without kneeling down and asking him to pray for him. And because of that, it would open doors. But with us, people would think the prophet, the man of God, should be honored more than your own biological father and mother. There are many I've talked to who say, hey, you don't understand how I grew up. I will never talk to my father and mother. But the word of God says, submit yourself to your father and mother by honoring them. It's not much. But when you honor them, when you kneel down and you ask them for a blessing, wawapaka $5, $10 something, wawapa a grocery, I'm telling you, the prayer of your parents is more powerful than any man of God. So, when it comes to family, and this is what I will repeatedly say, there's no parent who is super dictative unless maybe you are absent in their lives and you don't actually, do much. My father always tells me this, Hansi, dead noses do not smell roses. Saka usazoda kundigira flowers when I'm gone. Where you could have bought me or given me things. Now you want to cry at a funeral and make it seem as though, you loved me very much. But when I was there, just precious, you were too busy with work. You could not even send me airtime and things. So I think we need to go back to the culture of honoring, especially our parents. Your siblings is something else. But your parents, it's very important, because that is one simple commandment which if we follow, I'm telling you, I will dikitire on this earth, because the blessings of your parents are with you. So
okay, just to add on to what George is saying, he says don't scatter roses after I'm gone. I think, and I'm also very big on looking after your parents and honoring your parents, because like you said, it's one of those commandments that have that actually has it has a second clause to it, which says when you do that, God will bless you. And the parents are like the first people to bless you under the sun. So when your parents ask from God to bless you, you'll be blessed. And when they curse you also, you can also be cursed. So I think now going back to the conversation of money stigma and how then you can then converse about the issue of money. Like we said, George is coming from a place of
privilege.
I wish you.
We do have spaces
George
where
came from privilege, and you don't know.
No, privilege in the sense that you have parents who are understanding.
So we are saying now, if you have those kind of parents that I've had people talk about, it's important to then have that conversation to say, they may not understand, but it's good for them to be in a space of understanding, to get to be in the space of knowing what is happening, such that precious. This is the money that she can afford to give me, and you do that religiously. painowedzerwawo kubasa kwako weiwedzera. Like George said, this is 27 generation garage. Zvemashua waitotenda nesalary yako yekutanga to say, you know, just as a way of honoring them. But pane vamwe vaigona kutozofunga kuti saka agamusogara kuti alright saka kuenda 300 saka saka anenge azokubudgetera. So you need also to sit down and talk to your parents. But also,
I think it's important. What George is saying makes sense with the consistency. I think that's where his privilege comes from, which he's consistent with what he does for his dad. Because without consistency, like what George was saying, $20 next month. It seems like you're not.
Do you know? I love to say this, especially to the boy child. You know, when you become privileged financially at a certain level, I always ask people, if you go back to your parents and you see the type of phones your parents use, they should be at least of a certain standard compared to the ones you give away. Because there's a saying that says, what begins at home? Charity begins at home, right? But it's amazing how many of us, we buy our boyfriends, girlfriends phones, you buy them flowers, your own mother, if it's not Mother's Day, your own father, if it's not Father's Day. Do you actually think of small little things? And I think for me, this is why I reiterate and say this. I don't think parents come from a place of, I took you to school so you must take care of me. There's no parent that says that at all. So we need to get away from that mindset. But I say this, a little on a little. Wherever you get something, hi mom, this is just for you. I had a very good weekend. This is just for you to go and get something for yourself. If you do that consistently here and there, I think the issues with parents will come where you go a year and you say you're at work and you've never bought your mom a dress, a pair of shoes, you've never given her money for lunch, bought her this, bought her that, but she sees your life progressing and urukubuda pa TV, pa news, urukuannounced kwese, but you are failing to go back and, you know what mom, thank you for grooming me, thank you dad, this is what I've just bought, I bought a phone for you mom, for you dad. I'm telling you, when you honor your parents, izvozvoka chadenga chovhurika, and you'll be amazed how many more jobs. Kwete zvokuti we don't get paid on time. God will cause all things to work together for you, because that one commandment out of the other 9 has to do with realistical things that are here on earth, which have to do with your own parents. So, you know, to people out there, especially about money, I don't think you'll have issues with family if you honor your parents consistently, as and when. It's not about monthly, but consistently. Sometimes it's in the middle of the month, because hey, you got an extra $40, $50. You sent your mom, hey, here's some Eco Cash, here's some this, here's something. It just keeps your parents happy, and they'll always continuously keep you on their prayers, and they won't be demanding and expect too much from you.
Okay. Once in other summers, this program is for us listeners, so that we can learn from George the billionaire how to hustle hard, not for the Pulse presenters to present their issues to George. I love to that George namunze kumba kwenyu.
Elder.
Elder, no
but I think this topic has a lot to do with hustling hard and also money issues, because these are some of the issues that the younger generation and people out there are facing. You know, there are some businesses which are not thriving because, to be very honest, you have not acknowledged taking care of your mother and father because of bitterness over the years. So it's also a take home to people who are in business. Truly speaking, a phone call, a little gift, a little this and that for your parents will unlock so many things, because your parents have released a verbal blessing, and you've done it truly out of submission. You know, akunengwe submission, you know, for to kneel down in front of your parents and have them pray for you. You ask them. They will never say, I want to pray for you. I mean, I know there are no moms where I not move the pamba until I pray. But it's different when you say, Mom, I'm going. Can you please pray for me? Can you open the spiritual realm for good things to come? When that prayer goes from your mother or father, I'm telling you, and for those who understand that, you know, good things will follow you. But so many people think they can bypass the heavenly realms by going to the men and women of God and forgetting your parents. Because your father is a drunkard, is this, your mother is this, that and the other. They are still your biological father and mother. So failure to honor them. You don't want to go to heaven and be told, no, you did well, but you failed to honor your father and mother. That's why you did not go far. All other cultures honor this. If you look at it, they take care of their parents until the last minute of their lives. But for some of us, because of bitterness and past hurts, we are failing now to become great business people because of a word released by a mother and father, because you failed to honor them, to respect them. And Baba Namai Kunun's Kutanda is not a joke. It's actually reality. You may till the earth as much as you want, but if you don't have the blessing of your biological father and mother, I think Elder Summers, this answers you. This has been a great program because it has also enlightened another side of life, that we need to really honor our parents so that all things will go well with us.
And of course, when you get into the entrepreneurship journey, right? George, you living the job. Of course.
Sweet honey.
When you get into the entrepreneurship journey, of course, and you've been consistent with the parents. But then George says you can't be spending your profit. So that means you're going to have to spend at least a good amount of months trying to see between balance. Parents are used to you consistently giving them money.
Yeah. I would say, take your product, be it honey, be it this, let that be the first fruit you give to your parents. Hi, mom, dad, this is what I'm doing. I'm selling this now. Kindly pray so that doors open. They will also understand now they're doing this. And I tell people with entrepreneurship, it pays you far more than your job that you were at. But it's not going to happen soon. It's a long game. After a year, 2, you'll be able to do far more than you could ever have done, because you would have started. But as long as you remain with just that one stream of income, which we're always talking about, you will never realize your full potential. And I keep saying to people, please hear this message from George Billionaire. Do not go to heaven and be told what you could have done in a fully independent, liberalized Zimbabwe. But all you had were excuses here. Kubasa, politics, the president, this party. You will never be empowered by anything other than finding a product or service and providing a solution so people can give you money with.
All right. Thank you so much for the powerful words. And that's all we had today on Hustle Hard with George Billionaire. It is 1 o'clock on Capital 104 FM. To stand by for the news.